But while I was in that coma, my dad came to me and he said, "Rob, you're not 6 foot tall and bulletproof like you thought you were. When you get out of this mess, and you will, tell everyone you see to see your GP, because if you'd seen your GP sooner, you wouldn't be in the mess you're in right now." So I go and tell everyone at school with, ever work with, see your GP as regularly as you can. Go and get a checkup at least every couple of years. I told my wife that Dad had come to see me. She said, "You realise he's been dead for 6 years." So the message that I got to tell everyone to see their doctor is something that has changed the course of my life, because that's the other message he gave me, was that I had to change the organ and tissue donation system in Australia because it's broken. He told me to work with the politicians and the hospitals to understand how we can improve organ donation. The Australian Law Review Commission sat down to look at the human tissue legislation, and that was introduced to most parliaments around 1982-83. And since then, there's been no major changes to the legislations, despite there being massive advances in technology and treatment. We announced last week by the Attorney General that there's going to be a new ALRC review into the Human Tissue Act to try and harmonise the legislation around the country. I've written to over 300 politicians and worked with politicians at a federal level, and then in each of the states, where in Western Australia, South Australia and Tasmania, I've worked on the introduction of legislation that's amended their tissue acts. And in New South Wales, we formed the Friends of Organ and Tissue Donation and Transplant Awareness in the New South Wales Parliament, and that's been running since October of 22. And last year we introduced the anti-mortem intervention legislation in New South Wales. It means that when a patient does reach that point where the multifunction team determine that life has ceased, they can then perform procedures to make them a more viable organ donor. But as I said, the key for organ donation, and if any of you ever go into the space where you are talking to people about organ donation, you have to remember it doesn't matter if you register as an organ donor. The only people who can donate your organs are your next of kin. So even if you sign the register, it doesn't mean that the hospital can perform the surgeries, because every surgery has to be authorised